Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Pamela Wood, the Urban Empress, and you are listening to Tap In. Today, I am interviewing a Black Trump supporter. And don't get it twisted, I really want to understand why he supports Trump, because I don't get it. So kick up your heels and tap on in. Good morning, everybody. This is Pamela Wood, the Urban Empress, and you are watching Tap In. I am here with Pastor Daryl Kyle from Calvary Chapel, Perfect Love Church, and he is not just a Trump supporter. From what I gather, a very staunch Trump supporter and Republican. He also happens to be a Black man who has spent time in prison, who is an ex-pimp, and got married, gave his life over to Christ, and feels like Trump is the best person to lead this country right now. We are going to get into the meat and potatoes of why he feels that way right now. So, first of all, Pastor Kyle, thank you so much for doing this with me. You have no idea how much I appreciate this, especially since you know my points of view about our president and everything that's gone on in the past 4 years. So I really appreciate you coming to do this, even though you know that we have opposing points of view, that we can still do this in a spirit of love and uplifting our community. So I really appreciate that, first of all. Secondly, why Trump? What about his character makes you support him like wholeheartedly? I don't get it.
Okay, so this is where the problem comes in. You keep speaking, when I say you, I mean people on what they call the left. They speak on the person. This isn't a high school popularity contest. It's not about the person. It's about the platform.
Okay.
And one of the tactics of the left leaders is never deal with the issues or the platform, but to identify a person and make that person bad. So it's not that I support Trump. I support the platform. He's pro-life. He's pro-Israel. He's pro-America, looking out for this country first because he's the leader of this country. Mm-hmm. So when you look at those things, you're talking about a platform. Tax breaks with the incentives for corporations to build their factories and businesses in Black neighborhoods, tax-free for 10 years to hire from within those neighborhoods is a platform.
Okay.
Now, those things help not only Black people, but Americans. There's another side that doesn't care for Americans or Black people, so they need to make the liberator the evil person. So when you're talking about Trump, I'm not talking about him as a person. I don't know him as a person. I don't know if you know him as a person.
Do not.
So there's no way in the world I can say I dislike or like the man. I don't know him.
Okay.
But I know his platform. I know what he says, and I know what he does, and none of it is what you get from the other side. That's twisted information. The whole thing is this: if you're gonna tell a story, tell the complete story.
Exactly. So let's get into how Trump and how Attorney General Barr decided that he was going to make peaceful protests into an act against the United States.
What peaceful protest is
when Black Lives Matter or any group, any organization is out protesting because George Floyd was killed or Breonna Taylor was killed and there was no justice served. They were Barr was caught conspiring with other attorney generals, deputy attorney generals, to make that a crime against the federal government, to say that people were conspiring against the government versus just protesting. Days later, the FBI busted a man in Michigan plotting to kill the governor of Michigan.
That was a black. Wait. He was a Black
plotting,
Lives. He's a Black Lives supporter. He's a Black Lives.
We're right. He's a Black Lives supporter.
Okay, so wait, hold on. Let me.
No, I won't say right. He was a Black Lives supporter because, from my perspective, he was not a Black Lives supporter. He was just a white nationalist who was planning on kidnapping the governor of Michigan to start a civil war.
But he was a Black Lives Matter supporter. He has videos at a Black Lives Matter rally.
Right, and there were all kinds of infiltrators at these rallies.
Okay, wait.
Creating violent situations.
Wait. So let's talk about Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter.
No. Let's focus. Let's talk about Trump. Let's talk about why you support Trump. Let's focus because we're getting off the issues. Okay. I don't mean to cut you off, Pastor. You know I have a great deal of respect for you. But I do not like your boy. Trump ain't it for me.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
But how do you feel about how President Trump has handled COVID-19? Over 200,000 people died. He didn't warn us that COVID-19 was coming. He didn't get us out of harm's way. He knew in January that COVID was coming, and he didn't do anything. How can you support a man that allows 200,000 people to be infected with a deadly virus and then wants to take away our health care? So he wants to get rid of Obamacare with no plan in place to make sure that the people, at least the people who have COVID, who are going to have pre-existing conditions for the rest of their lives, are covered with insurance, with affordable insurance.
Okay, let me ask you this first. Is there anything Trump can do that's right?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait.
He can do things right.
Wait.
What he's done right. Wait. No. Don't answer a question with a question.
I have to understand where you're coming from so that I can answer your question.
Where I'm coming from.
Okay,
I'm coming from a place of in my other life, my second life, I'm a nurse. So I've seen COVID patients. I've watched people lose limbs because of COVID. I've watched people lose the ability to walk across a room because of COVID. They can't speak.
I get that. So when COVID very first started, he shut down all incoming traffic from China. I know this, when he did it, all the Democrats screamed racism.
No, that was like in March, late February, early March when he started shutting stuff down.
When there was only,
they knew in January that COVID was coming.
There was one case in America, and they shut it down. Now he's still relying on the same information that these doctors are giving him and making decisions based on that. He wants to shut the country down. Everybody's opposed him. He shuts the country down. Okay. Other countries don't have the same amount of testing that we have. You have more testing, you're going to have more cases. That's just common sense.
That theoretically, no, that is not. That is common sense. You're going to have more. No, that's not correct. That is not right.
Okay, so
it doesn't matter how many tests you have or don't have. When people walk into a hospital with COVID system, a doctor can diagnose based on symptoms. If a person has signs and symptoms of a condition, a doctor can say, without a test, this patient has COVID. They can base it on symptoms. A lot of disease processes are diagnosed based on symptoms alone. There are no tests. So if I go into a hospital that does not have a COVID test in the United States, if they don't have one COVID test in the building, and I walk in with signs and symptoms of COVID, they're going to say she has COVID-like symptoms and we are treating her for COVID-19.
Okay, wait. Now that's good. They haven't tested you. They said she has COVID-like symptoms, so we're going to treat for COVID. What if you don't have COVID?
There are other diseases that mimic COVID.
Okay, so what is that? What is that counted as without an actual COVID test?
What is it counted as? Is it with an actual COVID test?
Without an actual COVID test.
Without an actual COVID test, as a medical professional, I would treat that patient. I would practice universal precaution, and I would
But
treat that patient like they had COVID, and that's what any doctor would do.
So what would you put down that they had?
I would put down that they had COVID-like
But
symptoms,
you have,
and
but
they
you,
were being treated for COVID-19.
but you haven't actually tested for COVID.
In many cases, people don't get tested; they just get treated for it.
Okay.
And I will also tell you this: that when a lot of people on the right say, "Oh, that patient didn't die from COVID. That patient died from a heart attack. That patient didn't die from COVID. That patient died from a pulmonary."
Wait.
This pastor.
Wait.
When those patients die, their pre-existing conditions are exacerbated by COVID-19.
I get
So
that.
they do die as a result of COVID.
I get that. But hold on. North Korea says they have 0 COVID in their country.
That's a damn lie.
Wait. They're not testing. They say they have no cases.
That's North Korea.
Okay, wait. So if you have more testing and giving honest results, what are you going to come up with?
You're going to come up with cases.
Okay, that's the whole thing.
Pastor, that does not take away from the fact that those cases exist.
They do exist.
That's what people don't get. If you're testing and you have more tests, so you're getting more results, that just means that there are people who are spreading it that didn't even know they had it.
Okay, so now you ask me about how he handled it.
How do you feel about how he handled it, and what is your perspective on how he
I'll tell you how I know that he handled it. Okay. He shut the country down. He forced the automakers to turn their facilities into producing ventilators. He closed the borders, shut down the economy, put the whole nation on quarantine. In the beginning, nobody knew what was going on. Okay. As a result of that, he also had the Navy ships that were hospitals pull into port to accept the overflow of patients that would be in the hospitals. Okay, the Navy boats never even really got used because there weren't that many cases.
They got used in
they got used in New York, they got used in Los Angeles, but they didn't have that many cases where they were really needed. Okay. This is just what happened. They didn't have that many cases to where they were needed. They had so many ventilators that they start giving them away to other countries. Now, this is the United States, and that means every state has their own laws and rules and whatever. So he gave the money to the states and allowed the governors of those states to handle it as they wanted. In New York, the governor decided to put sick elderly COVID patients back into the nursing homes. Other states didn't do that. In New York, the death rate went way high. The money he gave California, $1 billion of that money, our governor gave it to a Chinese company for masks. On top of that, our governor opened the border to bring COVID patients from the other side of the border that started filling up our hospitals. That wasn't Trump. That was the governor of.
And there's nothing wrong with helping neighboring countries.
Wait. What I'm saying is,
especially a country as close to us as Mexico.
But when you're looking at it and you say, how did he handle it? He gave them everything they needed as individual governors to do. He organized the manufacturing companies to make the products that we would need for the overflow. That didn't happen. He gave them money. So when you're asking about what he actually did, right? Going into this, something that the whole world has never seen since the flood,
This is Spanish flu in 1919.
But that didn't hit the whole world, not the entire world.
It was pretty big, though.
It was pretty big, but this is the first time since the flood God has shaken the whole world. Nobody has been through this before. Nobody at all. Now, it started in China. who released it. So with the and when he caught it, he said the medication that they gave me, I'm authorizing to give to anybody and everybody free, beginning with the elderly. I don't know what would you think? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think that that is a bad thing based on the fact that Dr. Fauci said, do not take that medication because it hasn't been tested.
But you know, Dr. Fauci also has a patent on a COVID medication that him and Bill Gates had before it even started.
I'm not privy to that information. What I do know, though.
Okay, so if Trump says I got this medication, it healed me, and I will make it available to
anybody. Are you talking about his recent bout with COVID? And
yeah.
The antibody test, the antibody medication.
Right. And he said the medication that they gave me, I'm making free to anybody who wants to try it. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I honestly don't even believe he had it. But if he did, I promise you, I don't believe any. I believe that people in his camp had it, and maybe he got the bright idea. This is just my opinion. I don't believe that he had it.
Okay.
I just don't.
So
I think that it was all just for the sake of his campaign to connect with the people who have had it. I don't believe he had it.
So there's nothing he can do that's right or good.
There's a lot that he can do that's right or good. He just refuses to.
Okay, so what? Okay, so
I mean, he can lower taxes for the middle class instead of for billionaires. You know what I mean?
He did lower taxes.
No. He lowered taxes for billionaires, not for us, not for the middle class. My taxes actually went up.
You're in California.
Right. It doesn't matter where I'm at in the United States. My federal taxes actually went up. I actually don't get the tax breaks that I used to get. My daughters who have small children don't get all of the tax breaks that they would have gotten during the Obama administration. The other thing is that he could make sure that everybody has proper medical care. Instead of tearing down Obamacare, what he could be doing is building it up to make it everything that he said. He says that we have high copays, and I agree with that. We do have high copays, but we also have pre-existing conditions. So you're gonna say that I can go to the doctor for a splinter, but I can't go to the doctor for a heart condition that I've had my whole life. I can't be treated by my insurance for a heart condition that I've had my entire life. I have to pay out of pocket to be seen for a heart condition I've had for my whole life. Is the state going to pick up the charge for that? How are you going to manage that? Because you're going to have a bunch of unhealthy, sick-ass people walking around here like you did back in the 70s.
Okay.
And 80s.
Was that a question or?
I'm just saying. You asked me, can he do anything right? Okay. I'm telling you the things that he could do right. He can make sure that people have medical coverage. He could handle COVID-19 from a scientific perspective rather than a partisan perspective. He has politicized everything since he got in office. How do you politicize a pandemic?
Okay.
How does one do that? I could not believe it when I watched it unfold, but it has happened.
Do you want to answer or you want to talk?
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So, whatever he does is fake, phony, false, and bad. You've already established that.
No. It's not fake, phony, false. It's him.
Let me finish. The man gets COVID. You say no, he didn't.
I don't believe it.
Okay. He says we want to do pre-existing conditions. Nancy Pelosi say no, we're not including that. Obamacare, right? You just have to do research other than CNN. Obamacare.
I do research other than CNN. I watch Fox News on a daily basis.
Can I finish?
Go ahead.
Okay. Obamacare. If I don't want Obamacare, why do I have to pay a fine?
It's to ensure that everybody has medical coverage.
If I don't want it.
It's not that if you don't want Obamacare. It's that if you go for a year without, I believe it's a year without medical insurance, people have to be covered for medical insurance.
What country are we in?
United States, but you don't have to have Obamacare.
Okay, so if I don't want it, I shouldn't have to pay a fine for not wanting it.
I have never paid a fine for not wanting it. I went out with insurance. I went without insurance for
Do
a
you
while.
know the first thing that communists do when they take over a country is take over healthcare? It's 25% of the economy. And then not you and your doctor, the government gets to decide what kind of treatment you get because it saves the state money.
Exactly. So not covering pre-existing
so
conditions is going to save not millions, but billions.
wait, so if the state decides you're going to cost too much money, guess what? You don't get your treatment.
Pre-existing conditions are a way to eliminate costs.
Eliminating
pre-existing conditions in medical care, in a medical insurance provider not having to pay for anything related to a pre-existing condition will drop it will increase what they make annually. They will. For me, I have a heart condition. So with my heart condition, every year I have an echocardiogram. Every 6 months I have an EKG. When I have surgery, I have to have cardiac care to make sure that I'm going to make it through the surgery. If I get chest pains, I have to go to the emergency room if they're not resolvable at home. So if I have shortness of breath, if I have any issues related to my heart, I have to see a doctor. So basically, and I've had this condition since I was 21 years old. So basically, what Trump is saying is that if I get my insurance and my insurance says, what are your ailments right now? And I say, I have a heart condition. I have other arthritic conditions. The insurance company is going to say, okay, we won't treat you for those. Those are pre-existing. You didn't have those coming in the door. We're just going to treat you if anything else occurs. So I have to pay for my own medication out of pocket, and I'm paying for insurance every month.
Okay, so what I have heard Trump say, what I have seen the thing say is, we will always include pre-existing conditions. The Democrats don't want that. If you're talking about state-run medical insurance, state-run anything, first off, the government does not turn a profit or make money. Nowhere. The government only gets money by taxing. That's hands down, period. Government does not make money. Private sector makes money. Private sector makes profit.
Yeah, but the government saves money.
If the government takes over your health care, the government is going to save money for the state. If you and a 20-year-old have the same condition, you have less life than the 20-year-old does. So between those two choices, who's the better person to get this surgery paid for out of the state's pocket?
It doesn't matter who the better person is. My life is just as valuable as.
I'm talking about this system of government-run healthcare. The state is going to decide who is worth the money. Not you and your doctor, the state. It's totally different. We don't live.
Right, but it's not what you don't understand. If you look at it in black and white, if you look at it on paper, it is the left trying to save healthcare as it is right now. And when Trump changes healthcare, when he gets rid of Obamacare completely, he gets rid of coverage for pre-existing conditions. I have patients right now who are on Medicare and Medi-Cal who are struggling with their health care just based on some of the changes that Trump made coming into office.
Okay, so being that I don't have any information on that right here in front of me, and I'm not really totally versed in all of that, other than what the little bit that I do know and the statements that he has said, that pre-existing conditions are a mandate that are in there for whatever healthcare plan they come up with. And the fact that socialized, communist, government-run healthcare is not freedom of America, those are two different ideas. Either you are American and you believe in individual freedom to choose or not to choose, or you believe the state is the state's responsibility to take care of you. So with that, we talk about, do you think, for example, that a child's zip code determines where they go to school? Should determine where they go to school?
It doesn't right now.
It does.
I mean, to some degree it does.
Okay.
But mostly where I live, kids can go to school wherever their parents send them, as long as the parents can get them there.
Okay. It really, you can't, because you got to get waivers and all kinds of different things. But in California alone, K through 12, the state pays the school over $20,000 a year per child. Okay. So wherever that kid goes to school, there's $20,000 a year for that kid. But that kid can only go to a school in their zip code. Now, if the school is garbage, your kid is stuck going to that school. School choice says this: the money follows the student. So if I don't want my student going to this garbage school in this garbage neighborhood, and I want them to go somewhere else, I as a parent should have the right to have school choice to send them where I want them to go. Do you think that's good or bad?
I mean, if that's true, yeah, that's a good thing. That's a
good
thing. But
Democrats, Democrats oppose school choice. They oppose charter schools, but none of their kids go to the schools that they want to force your kids to. Okay. So school choice, if you talk about systemic racism, no school choice is systemic racism. So how come the Democrats, who always champion they're for black people, don't want your kids to go anywhere that you want them to go?
I think that with school choice, I don't have any kids in elementary school or middle school. My son is just about graduated from high school, so that hasn't been truly at the forefront of my mind, school choice, where it should be, because I have grandchildren. So that is something for me to look into and study. I can't really speak on it because I don't know that much about it.
Cool. Trump's fighting for school choice.
The other questions that I wanted to get into with you really quick, because we're running out of time here really quick. Just quickly, do you feel like Trump handled COVID-19 the way that it should have been handled? Do you feel like Trump handled COVID-19 the way that it should have been handled? And if so, what did he do that was great? If not, what could have he done better? Excuse me, if not, what could he have done better?
I think what the COVID-19 is something the whole world has never been through.
Okay.
So everybody going into it, we're going into it blind. Nobody knew how to handle it. Okay. The first thing you need to do is protect your country. Yes or no?
I agree with that.
Okay. Shut everything down.
I agree with that.
Okay. Now you're still working backwards because you're working with something totally unknown. I mean, in the beginning, everybody was terrified. You didn't want to go outside because you didn't know if you're going to catch the zombie apocalypse or not. Going to the store dressed up like a spaceman because you have no idea what is going on, right? And then you got conflicting information, because you still got to remember there's two types of people in this world. There are people that want to control the whole world and people that want everybody to be free. The global elitists, they have an agenda.
Who do you consider the global elitists?
George Soros, communists, most elitists, and,
Okay.
and that's both sides of the party. They have an agenda where people like us really don't matter.
Mhm.
Okay, so if the WHO is ran by China,
And
everybody who's
the
everybody
World Health Organization, for people
right,
who don't know who the WHO is.
they were ran by China. The information that's coming from China was coming through their people. Separate from them and find out what's really going on. Would you do that?
I disagreed with that decision.
Okay, but would you do that? If you're getting information from the people who put this out there and lied about it, talking about it came from wet markets and so on and so forth, when they really released it on purpose. I mean, what was Trump doing? He was crushing China's economy, crushing Russia's economy. Our economy was booming. But you know what that was doing? It was putting a dent in all these politicians who have their money in China, who are selling China our intellectual property while they got stock in Chinese companies. So by crushing China's economy, you're crushing the Biden's money, the Clintons' money. You're crushing all of their money that they were getting as they were selling out America. So why is he the bad guy? Because he's crushing the illegal crap you guys are doing because you're just making money off Americans while pretending to care for them. Did you know? Did you hear about when Trump, you know, he wanted to help out Iran, right? But he didn't want nobody to know he was gonna help out Iran, and then he got $1.7 billion in cash, loaded it up on two military cargo planes, and flew it to Iran. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I did.
Huh?
I did, but I heard it was something else.
Yeah, it was Obama. It wasn't Trump. If Trump would have did that, they'd have lost their minds.
Exactly. And when I say I heard it was something else, that was during the Obama administration.
Okay, but these are globalists.
And I don't believe that it was, there was something else to that. And I'm not going to speak on that because my recall is not that great on it. But I do recall a story like that. And it did happen during the Obama administration. But it was not Obama. It was somebody else.
No, it was Obama. He authorized the cash. It was so much cash that they had to use other nations' currency to give them that money. But that's not the point. The point is this. When you are upsetting what they have been doing for decades, you're the evil guy. You have to be the evil guy because you're going into my pocket.
I just asked, how do you feel like he handled COVID-19?
And like I said, if you have a globalist plan to get rid of America, this is one thing about the globalists. There's two countries they want to get rid of. United States and Israel. These are the two countries that everybody hates to have a border. Okay? You talk about Trump being a racist. First thing he did is says Jerusalem, the United States recognizes Jerusalem as the eternal capital of the Jews. How many races support the Jews?
Not very many.
None.
Okay.
None.
So
So when you go into the whole COVID thing,
mm-hmm.
protecting the United States is something that drove them crazy. It was crushing China's economy. The best thing in the world that the left is so happy about is the recession and unemployment. Oh, unemployment because of Trump. No, unemployment because of China releasing a virus on the entire world. So when you talk about that, I mean, who knew how to handle it? Who knew how to handle this brand new thing that happened to the entire planet?
The people who knew how to handle it were fired. President Obama had a team of people in place, a team of scientists and doctors in place to handle pandemics and epidemics. And Trump he fired them. And Dr. Fauci wanted to, the only person that we can see, our front person is Dr. Fauci with a few other people. And Trump disrespects Dr. Fauci constantly and tells us no, this is a political thing, and Dr. Fauci is trying to keep the country focused
Let me
on
ask
the
you this.
science of
Let
it.
me ask you this. How many patients have Dr. Fauci treated for COVID?
Dr. Fauci has treated every patient in this country that has had COVID by way of the way that he shares information with the doctors who treat the patients.
Is he the
Dr.
only?
Fauci is leading the charge against COVID-19.
So if any doctor disagrees with him, are they wrong or right?
If any doctor disagrees with him, they damn well better have some substantial information to share with Dr. Fauci on their findings so that they can treat the patients with the proper care.
So how come every time some doctors come out with different information and a different mode, they're shut down?
I'm not aware of this.
I know you're not.
I'm not aware of this.
I know you're not.
I've worked with COVID patients, and I've seen what works and what doesn't work.
Do you know?
I've seen the certain things work for certain patients that are having certain symptoms. So when a patient has an autoimmune response to the disease, there are certain medications that are used. When a patient is just having, basic flu-like symptoms with COVID, there are certain medications that are used. When blood clots occur with COVID, there are certain medications that are used. So there is a whole plethora of different symptoms with COVID. COVID is almost like cancer, the way that it mutates and the way
I get all that. I get all that. I get all that. But information. Okay. Do you know what the Smith-Mundt Act of 2012 is?
Break it down for me.
Smith-Mundt Act 2012 is a law that Obama signed in that says the U.S. media can promote propaganda on American people. It's an extension of Operation Mockingbird. And what that is, before it used to be illegal for the news media to purposely give us disinformation. But as a global communist Islamist, he signed it into law.
President Obama was.
Hold on. Let me finish.
He's a Christian?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
I mean,
but
even if he is Islamic,
I digress from that. It doesn't matter. The whole thing is this: should the American news media be allowed to put propaganda on American people?
It's not a matter of whether or not they should be allowed to. They all do it. Every news outlet does it.
But guess what? It became a legal right and a law in 2012 called the Smith-Mundt Act. Okay. 2012. Look that up. And Operation Mockingbird. If you look at the news organization,
I'm sure you sent me information on those and I glanced at them.
If you look at the news organizations, they have one script. Whatever story is going on, they'll have one word: bombshell, 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 disaster, disaster, disaster. Same script. They don't.
But the media has always done that with the American people.
But it's totally different.
Right, it is different because
if you want
even the news is politicized now. You turn it to Fox News, you have one narrative. You turn it to CNN or MSNBC, there's a whole nother narrative. You look at Breitbart online, there's the Fox News narrative with a Breitbart twist. So it just they all vary.
The whole thing is this: either all men are created free and equal, or some men are superior that dictate control to others.
Right.
And so if you have, what is the greatest threat to a slave master?
Slave.
No. A liberator.
Okay. I
so
agree with that.
You look at black people. One of your questions was, how do I feel about 50 Cent and Ice Cube working with Trump? Mm-hmm. This is what I feel about that.
I feel good about how Ice Cube is working with them. Go ahead.
Most parents teach their kids, you be your own person. You don't follow the crowd. You have your own mind and you make your own decisions based on right and wrong. Don't do what everybody else is doing. And if somebody tells you they're not going to be your friend because you're not doing what they're doing, they're not your friend anyway. I believe most parents teach their kids that. So when a human being decides, I'm going to make a decision based on my own research and facts, not my feelings, but true information, and it's not what everybody else is doing, I'm the bad guy. My skin color does not determine my mentality. And black people tear black people down to keep them like crabs in a bucket. But it comes from the black leadership. People like Maxine Waters, who don't live nowhere in her district, but she wants to make sure you stay in your district. If you're really for black people, then you should be for black people.
I absolutely agree with that. And I agree with Ice Cube. We need to get something for our vote. We need to know what we're going to get before we get it. I agree with that.
Now, let me take
his statement about the taxes and everything that he's going through. His perspective is very self-serving to me.
Okay, so let me take a step back and look at this. Either you're pro-truth or you're pro-black, because you can't be both.
I think that pro-truth is pro-black, and I think that people have their own perception of what the truth is based on how they are cut. I really do, and it depends on what narrative you're listening to,
so
and
let me ask you
your
this.
leaders in your life are.
Let me ask you this. My leader is Jesus, and Jesus don't care about skin color.
But I mean, you know what? We have probably the same Christian.
You're all made from dust, so guess what? Your skin color don't matter. But that's
it doesn't matter to in the perspective that you're given, but it matters to the people who look at you. When you walk into a room and they see black, if you walk into the room and you're the only black person who walks into the room, first they see black, then they see a man.
Let me ask you this. Wait. Let me ask you this. How do you know what they see?
Because I have been a victim of these behaviors.
Wait. How do you know what they see?
And I've asked. I've sat with people and I've asked. I have friends who are white, who are members of organizations who are very apologetic toward black people. So they've done their studies and their homework.
So let me ask you this.
I've asked, and I've dealt with racist people, and they see black first.
So when a white person walks in a room, what do you see?
I see, usually if a white woman walks into a room, I see a white woman. If a white man walks into a room, I see a white man, especially a person who deals with life the way that I deal with life.
Okay, cool. So you just admitted you're a racist.
Racism is one capitalizing off of the downfall of somebody and using their race as a way of doing that. It's keeping a group of people down to ensure that I always benefit from it. And for me, I am not racist because I'm not trying to keep a group of people down. I am not racist. I'm pro-black. I'll throw up my fist in a heartbeat. I am pro-black, but I'm not anti-white. I'm anti-racism. I'm anti-white supremacy.
Okay. What about black supremacy?
I am pro-equality. I am pro-justice.
Okay. So justice is that which is right by God.
There is
So you just said if you walk into a room and white people see you, they see black because they're racist.
They don't see black because they're racist necessarily. They see black because that's what I am.
Okay.
People who are not racist, they're going to say, what did you notice about the lady who walked into the room? You know, if the police ask people to identify me, they're not going to say, oh, it was a lady with dreadlocks and she was short and she was, you know, light-skinned. They're going to say she was a light-skinned black lady with dreadlocks.
That doesn't make it racist. That's just a description.
It makes it racist when you walk into a room and you're the only black person in the room and you get treated differently from everybody else.
But if you walk in there with that attitude, it already comes.
No, It doesn't. It's not that. Police don't pull white boys over and snatch them out of cars and shoot them the way that they do our sons.
Really?
They don't.
Really?
They just don't.
They're just walking around.
Their sons don't get put on the school to prison pipeline like our sons do.
Okay, that's true. So wait.
And dig this: when a black boy becomes a threat at between 8 and 10 years old, people start to treat him like he's a threat. With white boys, they don't see them as any type of threat until they're about between 13 and 15.
Okay.
So there's a huge.
All right. So you can base everything on color.
And it starts young.
So if you start, if I'm constantly telling you you are oppressed, I'm your oppressor.
Come on now, we know slavery happened in this country, and we know that oppression takes place daily.
Okay, so who freed the slaves?
It wasn't Abraham Lincoln.
No. Who freed the slaves?
We freed ourselves. We had to fight for what we got.
So it was a black army and a black general that rose up and fought to free the slaves.
Let's take it back a step further. Who enslaved the slaves?
Black people.
Who enslaved the slaves? Who came over and said? Who went over to Africa and said, "I want to buy that, and that, and I'll give you this for them"? No, black people gave away people. Other black people set black people up, but white folks enslaved us. Other black people didn't bring us over here and beat us and strip us and rape us. They didn't do that.
Was everybody?
That was white folks.
Was everybody in America a slave owner?
No, everybody couldn't afford to be a slave.
Was every black person in America a slave?
I know that all of my ancestors were. I don't know about everybody else. I know that all of my ancestors came to the United States by way of
the Americans. The Americans didn't have slaves. The Democrats did.
The Democratic Party was a whole different setup.
It's nothing different.
The Democratic Party was they operated off of a different doctrine. It seems as though somewhere during the 60s, the doctrines switched.
No,
so that the Republican Party became more like the Democratic Party, less liberal. There was a crossover at some point.
There was. You know what the crossover was? The crossover was when they gave black people welfare. Black people went to the Democrat Party.
Okay,
but the platforms never ever changed.
I have about 5 more minutes.
13th, 14th, 15th Amendments, all for black people, all Republican. Mm-hmm. Democrats opposed it. President Johnson, when forced to have to give black people the right to vote, even though it was already in the amendment, he said, "I'll have those niggers voting Democrat for the next 200 years. I'm gonna give them
just like Willie Lynch said.
I'm gonna give them welfare, but they can't have a man in the family." But you know what?
I agree with that.
These are platforms. When the Black Caucus heard Trump say, "Black lowest unemployment ever," they sat on their hands. When Obama said we got more people on food stamps than ever, especially in the black community, they jumped up, whistled, and shouted. But these are black people. But it has nothing to do with color. It has everything.
Well, that's because people who were homeless could go get food.
It's not about color. It's about power. It's about elite. Either I'm above you or we're equal. And that's not a color thing. That's a human thing. And the first slave in America was a black man owning another black man because he went to court to make sure he could keep his slave. White people died at the hands of their own family or killed their own relatives in order to free black people.
There were a lot of white people that did that. We couldn't have accomplished freedom without the help of...
The Civil War was fought between the Americans and the Democrats.
No, it was
That's
fought between Americans and Americans on American soil. It was fought between the North and the South on
okay.
American
So
soil.
the
Come on
Democrats had
now.
their own constitution that included slavery. They had their own money. They have their own flag.
Yeah, you can go back into that history. All I
But
want to know, bruh, is do you feel like President Trump colluded to get into office last time? Do you feel like he cheated or not?
okay, Hillary Clinton pays the Russians $12.7 million to get a made-up fake story that her people in the FBI leaked to the media to start a fake investigation, all from the Democrats.
Okay.
Okay,
All right. That concludes our interview. I have to cut it off because I have another producer calling me. I'm directing a music video today.
all right.
I gotta run, and it's been fun. I thank you so much for your time. I will be taking some of your answers from our last interview and including them in this interview for the radio portion of this. For the part that'll go up on YouTube, I will there'll be an edit. This will be edited. So with that said, I must run, and I have to tell you that I appreciate you so much again. I wish we had more time. Unfortunately, I don't. I have an 11:15 meeting who's on their way, and I have to prepare for it. So I will see you next time. We'll talk after the election. Okay?
Stop looking at it as a person and look at the platform.
I will look at the platform. I do.
No, really, this is all I want to say to you. There's deceivers, there's the deceived, and those who are fighting for the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The deceivers, they use what Karl Marx called useful idiots. It's people who they deceive into believe they're fighting for a real good cause because they appeal to their emotional state, right? And they get them to do all their dirty work because they really believe they're fighting for this good cause. But they're being sent out as missiles because they are totally deceived. It's not that they know they're fighting for a lie. They just believe the lie. Does that make sense?
I agree with it. Makes total sense.
Okay.
It makes total sense, and it's funny because we sit at different ends of the spectrum in our political views.
Okay.
And what you said applies to how I feel about somebody like you being for Trump and believing, standing with his platform.
Okay, so if you tell me about his platform, are you for abortion?
I believe that women should have a choice.
Okay. Planned Parenthood was created to exterminate the Negro. So you support that.
I don't agree with exterminating the Negro, but if a woman is raped or she's pregnant with a child who's going to have a bunch of problems, if a woman is raped, she shouldn't be forced to do it.
So you want to kill the baby and not the rapist?
Like I said, I wouldn't want to raise a child of a man who raped.
There's always abortion. I mean, there's always adoption.
It depends on the person. I've been in situations.
I understand that, and I paid for some. I paid for some.
Abortion. Yeah, we've all been there, and I just think that women should have a choice. I myself at this point, if I was at 48 years old and sexually active, and I found out I was pregnant, God forbid that ever happen after any time after 40. But if I ever found out that I was pregnant, I would give birth.
Okay,
but
so let me ask you this:
a woman who is in a bad situation, I think that she should have a choice. I don't think that the choice should be taken away.
But okay, I agree with that because God is all about choice. But God also tells you in detail what you're choosing. Any medical procedure you have, they tell you what the procedure is going to be. In the case of abortion, they don't tell you they're going to dismember the baby and then reassemble it on the table to make sure they got every part. They tell you it's just a blob of tissue. So you don't have full information on your choice.
No, and for me, that's why I say I wouldn't get an abortion at this point.
Okay, so if we're going to give women the choice, should they be deceived or should they have full information?
They should have full information.
Okay, so then in that case, we should have.
And I don't agree. I don't agree with partial birth abortion. I think that's too much.
Okay, so in that case, women should have to know the procedure of an abortion and a sonogram, so that they know what they're so that they know what they're doing.
Yep.
Right?
I agree with you.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Give me full information. But if I want to deceive you, I'm going to tell you it's a blob of tissue. I'm going to tell you you don't want to bring a baby into a poor
I
environment.
think that on conception, a person has a spirit and a direct connection to God. I do believe that.
And
But
then,
I also believe that for me, I just couldn't see myself raising the child of someone who had sexually assaulted me. I couldn't see that.
and that's less than a point of a percentage.
Yeah, there are some women who use abortion as birth control, and I think that that's wrong.
So the whole thing is this. When I asked you about Saul Alinsky, everything, that was Obama's mentor.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you are doing, if you look at it's platform, it's not people. His 13th rule was pick a target and freeze it. What that means is, and it's going to be my last rule that I'm putting on my politic thing, is you make this one person bad. You never say anything good about them. You feed nothing but negative information about them so that people hate them as a person, and they'll never look at anything that they're doing, and they'll hate anybody connected to them because you have froze them as the target. That's how you get rid of them. But you never give information on the issues and what they're doing. And your program people, the deceived ones, they will fight ferociously because they believe the lie.
We're going to end this interview on that note. Again, this is Tap In. I'm Pamela Wood here with Pastor Daryl Kyle. It's been a wonderful interview. Thank you so much, Pastor. Like I said, we will talk after the election. Peace and blessings. You have a great weekend, okay?
All right.